Cough syrup and conquer. Unlocking the Secret Life Lessons Hidden in Drowsy Hallucinations by Zaliel S. Morpheus.
Copyright at Zaliel S. Morpheus. All rights reserved. No part of this publication may be reproduced, stored, or transmitted by any form or means, electronic, mechanical, photocopying, recording, scanning, or otherwise without written permission from the author. It is illegal to copy this book, post it to a website, or distribute it by any means without permission. This book is entire a work of fiction. The names, characters, and incidents portrayed in it are the work of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, events or localities is entirely coincidental. First edition 2024. Published by bookbyanyone.com. Note from author, this book is not written by me, it is AI generated. Chapter 4. Dancing with Shadows. The Dance of Shadows, an art form that even the most seasoned ballerinas have yet to master. I've always found that darkness, much like the scent of old socks mixed with cough syrup, has a peculiar charm, and trust me, my invisible friends agree, the deeper the darkness, the more interesting the company. So let's embrace those inner shadows with the grace of a leggy flamenco dancer who's had one too many drinks at the bar of existential dread. Picture this, it's a quiet night in the mountains, my favorite haunt. I'm sitting atop my self-made throne of moss and stale nachos, pondering the limits of human existence while sipping cough medicine that tastes like cherry-flavored regret. As hallucinations casually stroll through my mind, resembling both mythical creatures and judgmental relatives, I realize our shadows can be surprisingly entertaining. What other companions will dance with us in our moments of solitude? Exactly, that's what I thought. Invisible friends and self-doubt make for a terrific ensemble cast. What a show! Now if you ask me, embracing darkness is like adopting a pet tarantula. It seems terrifying at first, but when you really get to know it, you find out it's just a hairy thing with a penchant for hiding in corners and scaring the living bejeebers out of casual visitors. When we are willing to dance with our shadows, we take the first step toward understanding that those very parts of ourselves, those pieces we like to shove down into the damp, cluttered corners of our psyche, hold the key to our growth, like a rusty key found in a jar of pickles during a midnight fridge raid. Let's not forget that shadows can also be quite a talented bunch. Picture them dancing around the room, attempting interpretative dance moves that looks suspiciously like a toddler trying to express existential dread after missing snack time. When we acknowledge the absurdity of our inner darkness, we can turn the haunting figures of despair into comedic relief. The trick is to allow ourselves to find humor in the chaos, to see the silliness in our fears. After all, who doesn't chuckle to themselves when imagining their dark moments resembling a circus act, complete with questionable clowns and enough glitter to embarrass even the sparkly vampire of pop culture fame? Shadow dancing is not just a party trick, it comes with a profound revelation. Our past traumas often manifest as awkward footwork behind the scenes. When I look back at my shadow play, I see the moments from my youth that turned me into the person I am today, or rather the person I am, as I tap dance through life like I'm auditioning for a role in an avant-garde performance piece titled The Cough Syrup Chronicles. The shackles of regret can weigh us down, but when we twirl with them like a swirling dervish of doom, we realize that they also propel us towards something greater, a sense of liberation found at the confluence of acceptance and, dare I say, self-love. So there we have it, folks. The Dance of Shadows isn't just about embracing despair, it's about giving it a funky name and spraying it with glitter. It's about knowing that those dark, murky parts of ourselves are just as integral to our existence as the silly moments we cherish. It's the waltz of contradictions that leads to authenticity because, let's face it, there's no true growth without a little chaos. As my invisible friends twirl through the depths of my drowsy hallucinations, I've learned to laugh at my shadows instead of cringing away in fear. They are not scary monsters lurking under the bed, they are delightful co-conspirators, ready to share their wisdom if we were brave enough to engage their wonderful dance. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Losing a shoe in mid-twirl? At least that would give us an amusing story to tell our imaginary cups of herbal tea. So let's dance with our shadows, clumsily, awkwardly, and with occasional bouts of laughter, because that's where the true magic resides. Finding strength in solitude, the paradox of isolation. Solitude, the double-edged sword of life that can cut through a fog of distraction or leave you tangled in a web of existential dread like a fly in the world's most tedious science project. As I sit perched atop my mountain of flammable ideas and questionable choices, I can't help but chuckle at the irony of it all. Here I am, surrounded by spectacular views, pondering the profound nature of isolation while simultaneously reveling in the sweet melody of silence punctuated only by my own caffeinated thoughts. Yes, my friends, finding strength in solitude is akin to realizing that the best dance partner is, in fact, your own shadow, just slightly less enthusiastic. Let's start by addressing the elephant in the room, or perhaps the entire circus, considering how loud our collective anxieties can get. Solitude has this terrible reputation for being synonymous with loneliness, much like how broccoli is often associated with childhood tantrums. But fear not, it's time to flip the script. Isolation isn't merely an empty room filled with echoes of your own doubts, it's a divine sanctuary for self-discovery. Embracing solitude means you sometimes get to discover new things about yourself that your friends would prefer remain a tantalizing mystery sealed away like cookies hidden in the pantry. Picture yourself in a quiet cabin, a cozy fortress made of wood and questionable insulation where all you have for company is the creaking timbers and the voices of your irrational fears. Sure, it's easy to dismiss this scenario as total madness, but isn't madness just clarity wearing a disguise? In that stillness away from the cacophony of life, there lies an opportunity for introspection that rivals even the most skilled poets performing their best soliloquy in a high school drama class. In solitude, we find a mirror reflecting not just our flaws, but also our hidden strengths waiting to be unleashed like a surprised cat leaping from a sunbeam. Let's dissect this paradox a little deeper, shall we? Solitude can feel like wandering through a dark cave, but if you reach the end and emerge covered in soot and glitter, because why not, you'll realize it's a beautiful, misunderstood experiment in self-connection. When you're left alone with your thoughts, you're no longer confined to the small-talk prison we so often find ourselves in at social gatherings. So how about the weather? Did you see that thing on Netflix, Far From It? Here, we delve into juicy topics like why is the universe against me, and how many marshmallows can I shove into my mouth before I start questioning my own existence? Vital questions, I assure you. The inherent challenge, of course, lies in navigating the fine line between self-reflection and self-indulgence. There's a slippery slope on the way to self-empowerment, and it often involves tripping over the boulders of excessive rumination. I've made it a personal duty to conquer that slope while equipped with a most formidable weapon, humor. Honestly, what's the worst that can happen when you take an honest look at your flaws? You could become the star of your own one-person show while simultaneously laughing hysterically at yourself for having once eaten an entire year's worth of cereal in a matter of days. See? You're already the best comic in the business called living life alone. Now don't get me wrong, solitude can be a confusing labyrinth. However, within those twisting paths we unearth astonishing inner strength, like a unicorn emerging from a cloud of existential confusion while spontaneously sparkling. You might find yourself asking deeper questions such as, am I truly destined for greatness, or just here with a peanut butter sandwich wondering where time went? In this quest, we wield our solitude like a sword, slicing through the fog to reveal latent cosmic truths about ourselves. Who knew being alone could lead to such erudite internal dialogues or, better yet, a range of existential dance-off shows with our emotions as competing contestants? In the end, it's this paradox of isolation that teaches us to navigate the stormy seas of life. So, whether you're tucked away in the wooden cabin of self-exploration, or engaging in a deep conversation with your introspective socks, remember, solitude isn't a sentence, it's an invitation. It's the rocky path leading through the wilderness toward the magnificent sunsets of self-awareness. Next time you find yourself reveling in your delightful company, like me perched atop an imaginary mountain with cherry-flavored cough syrup in hand, remember that solitude can be a wellspring of strength just waiting for us to sip nectar of wisdom offered freely in those quiet moments. Cheers to that! Hallucinations as a mirror, reflecting our inner turmoil. Hallucinations, the uninvited guests in our minds that waltz in unannounced, wearing outfits designed by our deepest fears and quirkiest desires. Like the intermission of a bizarre circus, they flip our perceptions upside down, revealing uncanny reflection of our inner turmoil. It's like looking into a funhouse mirror, where your fears take a twisted form and your aspirations don a polka-dotted tutu. Who knew that those mind-bending episodes brought on by cough syrup could double as valuable insights? Well, buckle up, it's time to explore the kaleidoscopic chaos that resides within. Imagine, if you will, that you're strolling through the serene mountains soaking in nature's beauty while casually sipping cough syrup, which of course is a balanced source of nutrition alongside your diet of emotional baggage. Suddenly, a grizzly bear wearing a tutu appears and starts reciting Shakespeare. It's beautiful chaos that would make even the avant-garde directors of the theatre world weep with envy. But beneath this ludicrous image lies a more profound thought. Our hallucinations often mirror our deepest insecurities and desires in a way that transcends the mundane. The bear? A representation of fear of confrontation transformed into a Shakespearean soliloquy. Who knew fuzzy monsters could be so eloquent? Hallucinations act as a funhouse mirror, exaggerating the tribulations we hide beneath layers of denial and distraction. Much like that half-eaten pizza in the refrigerator. Sure, it might seem a little grotesque at first, but let's take a moment to appreciate this oddity. Instead of cringing away from our inner turmoil, let's pull up a chair and have a little get-to-know-you session with our personal gremlins. Who even knew they could pop up in puppet form reciting dramatic monologues during your moments of vulnerability? They make darn good company, I must say. When we encounter these colorful hallucinations, we're presented with a unique opportunity to dive into the tumultuous sea of our emotions, complete with wacky waves that sometimes seem intent on knocking us off our metaphorical surfboards. In those surreal encounters, we can sift through the mischief and madness to unearth the pearls of wisdom hidden within the chaos. Think of it this way: if your mind is a circus, then your hallucinations are overenergetic clowns trying to keep the show running. Sure, they might throw a few pies in your face, but they might also reveal hidden truths about your fears, desires, and deepest hopes, all while wearing ludicrous costumes. The beauty of these mind-bending moments is that they encourage us to dance with our doubts and embrace our insecurities like an awkward teenager trying to perfect the robot dance at a school assembly. Clumsy, yes, but also fruitful in exploration. As I recall one particularly vivid episode, I encountered a swarm of flying spaghetti monsters swirling around me, demanding a tribute in form of marinara sauce. At first, this whimsical imagery seemed absurd, but as I attempted to unravel its significance, I realized this was merely my subconscious nudging me toward the realization that I had been neglecting my appetite, an emblematic metaphor for so many neglected aspects of life. Who would have thought that a craving for pasta could serve as an invitation to recognize my emotional needs? So here's the punchline: the more we embrace these peculiar reflections of our inner turmoil, the less we have to fear them. Like awkward dinner guests, our hallucinations can be incredibly entertaining once we drop the facade of seriousness and allow the absurd to coexist with our real experiences. The clowns at our subconscious party aren't out to get us, they simply want to share their tales and in doing so, grant us clarity amidst the chaos. It's all about perspective. Now, I shall leave you with this unequivocal truth: hallucinations, those shimmering mirages of mirrored madness, deserve our attention, not our disdain. They beckon us to look closely, laugh loudly, and ultimately embrace the delightful complexity of our own psyches. So don't shun those flying spaghetti monsters, invite them to dinner instead. Who knows? They might serve you a dish of enlightenment served a sprinkle of drowsy hilarity, and you'll come away savoring the whimsical wisdom they have to offer. After all, a little madness never hurt anyone. It's simply a necessary dash of spice in this grand buffet of life. Surrendering to the abyss, the art of letting go. The thrilling plunge into the unknown, like leaping into a kiddie pool filled with jelly instead of water. Let me clarify, it's not nearly as scary as it sounds. Thought it might leave you a little sticky and questioning your life choices. Entering the abyss does not mean you are embarking on a horror movie adventure where a villainous sock puppet stalks you through dark hallways, rather it's a journey toward embracing chaos and the ultimate art of letting go. So grab your metaphorical floatas and prepare for a dive into the refreshing chaos that lies beneath. Let's face it, Holding on to our fears and disappointments can feel as natural as holding on to that last slice of pizza when deep down you know it's giving you questionable life decisions the next day. But clinging to these emotional heavyweights rarely results in anything productive. Aside from maybe an impressive collection of regretful memories. It's like dragging a suitcase full of bricks around while strolling through a serene park. Sure, you can still fantasize about finding tranquility, but the weight will inevitably overshadow those aspirations. If only we could gift wrap our emotional baggage and send it off to the Bermuda Triangle, never to be seen again. When we finally gather the courage to let go, we can experience a sensation akin to shedding an old skin, much like a snake. Surrendering allows us to slip into a state of mind where we are free to explore our vulnerabilities without fear of judgment or ridicule. In this delightful mental playground, we can twirl, cartwheel, and even engage in interpretative dance without worrying about what anyone thinks. Spoiler alert, no one is watching because they've all been hypnotized by the captivating performance of an invisible walrus located somewhere offstage. Of course, letting go doesn't come without its moments of sheer absurdity. As I once found myself perched on the edge of a cliff, illuminated by an overpowering chorus of imaginary yodelers, I realized how hollow my desire to cling to specific thoughts and beliefs truly was. Sometimes, you find solitude and clarity in bonkers scenarios that seem to spiral out of control, like a caffeinated squirrel on a rainy day. Embracing the folly of life's unpredictability is liberating, and it frees us from the desire to hold on to what no longer serves us, a platitude you've probably heard a million times but never felt the gravity until you, too, have been serenaded by feathered minstrels. A true art form, surrendering opens the door to what I like to call the Muppet theory of life. You see, Muppets have a curious way of existing in the world. They embrace the boundless potential of their surroundings. A simple mission can become an epic adventure, and no one seems troubled by the possibility of things going awry. It's just a grand spectacle that turns mundane everyday tasks into delightful chaos. How liberating it is to think about our lives in that fashion. Why not allow the abyss to morph into an eccentric sidekick who adds a splash of color to your otherwise gray wallpaper? As I reflect on the various instances of letting go, those little moments when I decided to cast away my fears, whether it meant walking away from relationships that clung like cobwebs or shaking off the weight of expectations, each surrender was an act of catharsis. The moment you release the grip of doubt is akin to letting loose that final gasp that liberates all tension residing within you. The freedom in surrender is palpable. You discover new depths of your being that make you giggle uncontrollably as you realize how liberating it is to embrace the vast swirling chaos of existence. So here's the punchline, folks, surrendering to the abyss is not an admission of defeat, but rather an invitation to dance with unpredictability. Let it twirl you around like a whimsical partner in the absurd nocturnal gala where everyone wears mismatched socks and consumes copious amounts of icing straight from the can. When we learn to embrace the chaos, we give ourselves the most precious gift of all, the ability to live in the present moment rather than allowing the past and future to weight us down like an anchor tied to our feet. Thus, I invite you to join me in the indulging in the enchanting art of letting go. The next time life's absurdities bubble to the surface and tempt you to cling to the familiar, even if it's uncomfortable sheet of emotional cling wrap, consider trading it in for the whimsical ride that is surrender. Because in the end, diving into the depths of the unknown might just lead you to unexpected shores filled with laughter, resilience, and potentially a marching band of invisible friends ready to join you on your journey. The joy of drowsy revelations, lessons from the limbo of sleep. The magical realm where the laws of logic and reason take a holiday and the most curious revelations are born. If you've ever experienced the delightful fog of drowsiness, you know that it's akin to navigating through a delightful candy store filled with more than just your average lollipops and chocolate bars. It's where the bizarre becomes normal and the line between reality and absurdity blurs like an artist feverishly attempting to create a masterpiece after consuming one too many cups of herbal tea. In this whimsical domain, the profound and the ridiculous coexist as best friends, unraveling insights while engaging in interpretative dance-offs that would make even the greatest choreographers gasp. Picture the scene: you're nestled comfortably in your bed, the warm cocoon of blankets embracing you, while the world outside falls into a delightful hush. As you sink deeper into the abyss of sleep, you might find yourself slipping to the ethereal, drowsy state where the mind plays tricks, creating a carnival of strange thoughts that demand your attention. Yes, dear reader, I'm talking about that glorious twilight zone between consciousness and dreamland, where profound revelations sneak in under the cover of sleep-induced confusion like ninjas in the night. I'd personally argue it's where true philosophical enlightenment arises, especially when you've consumed a suspicious amount of cough syrup mixed with questionable almond milk. In this hazy mental playground, I have found some of my most dazzling insights, the kind of insights that scream, "Aha, this is the solution to life's mysteries," and then promptly dissolve like a sugar cube dropping in an overflowing mug of ambition. Each drowsy moment is akin to a kooky magic show where previous notions of reality are turned upside down, akin to sifting through the bizarre yet enlightening thoughts that pop into your head with the vibrant vigor of a jester at a Renaissance fair. Sometimes I find myself pondering questions so monumental they could rival the masterpieces of philosophical thought. Who needs Socrates when you're left contemplating, if life is a carnival, what freaky ride do I want to embark on? But hold on, my sleep-deprived compatriots, these revelations often come hand in hand with flip-flopped logic. Take, for instance, the time I was convinced that a pack of gummy bears was conspiring against me to rain down gummy justice upon the feeble earth. In my drowsy state, they possessed transformative power that could solve societal issues. If only they could be properly harnessed. From a logical standpoint, this was ridiculous, and yet somewhere in the depths of that candy-induced delirium, a new perspective emerged. Perhaps it was a gentle reminder to embrace joyful absurdity instead of griping about the mundane routine of daily life. Thus, an important life lesson was tucked within that sugar-coated mischief. What's more intriguing about these drowsy revelations is how they unveil the emotions that we so often shoo into the shadows like a sock that mysteriously disappears in the washer never to be seen again. During one particularly surreal episode of half-sleep and rapid eye movement, I grappled with the raw truth of a past failure, but instead of spiraling down a black hole of despair, I morphed it into a cosmic joke. In that space, I recognized that even the most cringe-worthy moments can be spun into tales of perseverance and ridiculousness that deserve retelling over and over again, preferably to an audience of enchanted squirrels and cosmic beings that have collectively bought into my new self-help book. This is the crux of the joy it all brings, the ability to redefine our circumstances and reshape our narratives into something so utterly absurd that it transitions from fear of failure to the exhilaration of storytelling. Each bushy-tailed revelation gleams with the potential for personal growth like stars dancing across a moonlit sky. It's in this dreamy limbo that we can appreciate the beauty of gauzy moments, a place where laughter intersects with introspection, creating an existential carnival bursting with color and joy. So the next time drowsiness envelopes you as you drift in and out of consciousness, lean into it, allow those peculiar thoughts and whimsical reflections to wash over you. You may just discover precious nuggets of wisdom or delightful nonsense that prompt the spark of creativity you didn't realize was hiding behind the curtain of your sleepy mind. In the end, we are all intrepid explorers forging narratives, goblins in search of the cosmic punchline, reveling in the joy of chaos while letting our drowsy revelations lead the way. Embrace this marvelous realm where dreams spark laughter and wisdom dances hand in hand with jelly-filled absurdity, and perhaps we might find the answers we seek hidden beneath the twinkling lights of our own sleepy musings.